Boggle, when was the last time you went to the doctor?
That's a good question. I don't remember. I'm a very unhealthy person.
Did you ever go to a doctor that used mind control on you, like I did to get you to agree to do this podcast with me?
Well, now you've kind of given them the answer. Yes, once, because you were able to get the thing that hypnotized me into joining this crappy podcast.
Oh, that actually kind of hurt my feelings a little bit. Well, both of us are going to the doctor today on the Cult of Dangerous ASMR podcast. So, welcome to episode 4 of the Cult of Dangerous ASMR podcast. I'm, of course, Steven, aka Movie Buff 3000, and this is Boggle, aka Boggle. This week we are focusing on a series that it came back to life. It was really surprising. Like, I did not expect this at all. Like, this surprised me more than last week where we got the ending of Saved by the Giantess. And we have a cool thing about that too coming up later. But yeah, it kind of came out of nowhere. It's just, oh, next episode. I was like, holy crap! Like, I didn't think like we would get another episode. And even the writer himself has said that, like, yeah, I pretty much had writer's block until this point. And it seems like Dangerous might be taking over this story from now on, which, seeing what happened in the most recent episode, I'm actually like really interested to see what's coming up next. Not only that, we're of course covering another episode that came out this week. Technically today. The time of this
Just now,
recording.
actually.
Oh, it just came up right now. That's funny. That seems to always happen to us whenever we record things. That's when the episode comes up. I've noticed. Clearly, we should just record this podcast 7 in the morning, your time, and then the episode will just magically appear. But yes, we will be well, Boggle, because I'm a terrible fan and I haven't listened to it yet. Boggle will be reviewing Comforting You Through Your Dysphoria, which is actually perfect time for the end of Pride Month, is an audio for where the listener is a trans male. And on top of that, we will be doing kind of an interview with FN, the writer of Saved by the Giantesses. It is in the same way we did the AJ interview, where one of us reads questions and the other one just says his answers. But yeah, that is the. But yeah, that will be our show today. But now we will tell you where we can all find Dangerous, other than her YouTube channel.
Well, obviously, yes, she has a YouTube channel, but as well as that, she has a Patreon. You absolutely should support because it's so worth it. And if you do have the Patreon, you can join, or actually, no, you don't need the Patreon for it, but you can join our Discord, which is actually where and how we're filming this podcast, is through a server we made. But yeah, if you join the Dangerous server, you'll get to hang out with a lot of cool people, including Dangerous herself, because she does swing by every Saturday night / Sunday morning. So that's a huge incentive. If you don't care about the rest of us, you can at least go for her. Um, Another place you can find her is Twitter, where it's mostly just to advertise whatever newest audio is out, but it's still worth a look around because every once in a while she will tweet about something else. For example, it's not really recent anymore, but her biggest tweet in at least recent months was an advertisement for merch that she is now selling on Redbubble, and it's actually really cool. So there's something definitely you don't need the Twitter link to get to it, but that's how we all found out about it. She advertised. She's like, "Hey, I started a Redbubble and I'm selling merch in honor of hitting 50K." And at least until the end of this month, even though it's right around the corner, 50% of the proceeds on whatever she makes for on her merch will go to the NAACP Legal Defense Fund. So not only will you be buying cool merch and supporting Dangerous, but you'll also be supporting a good cause. So it's definitely a worthwhile purchase.
Now that we got all the shilling out of the way, shilling for another person, because we are, of course, the biggest simps ever, as much as I hate that title. All right, so on to the review portion. Like I said earlier, Boggle will have to take the reins on this. I'm very sorry. I did not get a chance to listen to this. But Boggle does. And that's what Boggle is best at. Making sure these audios get listened to right away.
Yep, second they drop, I'm like, hang on, everybody. As soon as I can get to them.
Well, I will hand the reins over to you.
All right, well, to explain, I'm actually going to be borderline promoting myself at this point, but the author of this newest upload, which is called Comforting You Through Dysphoria, for, again, like Steven said, female X, female to male transgender. The author of it is one of my best friends. He's a great guy, wonderful writer, and it's just I'm so freaking proud to know him, and I'm now going to be riding his coattails. Like, I know this guy who had the honor of essentially writing the first trans inclusive script for Dangerous, because she's always supported the trans community, but this is the first script that's been explicitly like for a trans listener. So I mean, hey, ain't that kind of cool? It's really good because it's got this domestic simplicity to it, since essentially the plot is that you, the listener, are transitioning into being a male, and you're still kind of navigating that rough patch, and the insecurities of being trans are getting to you, and she is your girlfriend who comforts you when you admit that there's a lot that's been on your mind. And it's just really heartfelt and sweet and emotional and vulnerable, and I think it will help so many people, because even like I've seen, these audios always drop a day early if you're on her Patreon. Some of the comments, people will be like, I'm cisgender, and I still find this audio really nice. So it is absolutely incredible, and it's just so comforting, even though, again, I also am cisgender, but I remember smiling so much when I listened to it, because you can, like, again, I'm I keep saying this, I'm the writer's one of my best friends, and I can really see he's poured his heart and soul into this script, and it's so perfect, and I'm so glad that it was made. I'm so incredibly proud. It's definitely worth a listen.
Do you know if was he intending this to come out during Pride Week, or was that just a big happy accident?
That was actually a big happy accident, since Dangerous's schedule is always up in the air. You never really sure when anything's going to come out. Yes, pun intended, come out. But yes, it is. I think that's what other commenters have noticed. What a perfect way to end Pride Month in such a crappy year is to have this very inclusive, very comforting audio, and none of us could be happier. It's so perfect.
And Elijah, I do apologize that I haven't listened to this yet. I promise I will get to it as soon as I can, and I will let Boggle know, and Boggle will get to you. But yeah, congratulations on getting this audio out, man.
He's on the Discord, so I'm sure if any of you guys want to find him, just talk to Boggle, and I can, send you in his direction if you guys want to talk to him, because he'd absolutely love that. I keep telling him, I'm like, dude, you need, like, I'm not saying be arrogant and braggy, but he's just so humble that he's like, no, it's nothing. I'm like, dude, you've made an incredible audio. So any of you guys who want to show your support, send me your love so I can send him that love and be like, dude, be proud of what you've made. It's incredible. You're talented. You're wonderful. You're so sweet. Like, you've made something awesome. Because again, this is the first explicitly trans inclusive audio on this channel. That's a huge milestone. Be proud of it, own it. Like, he absolutely deserves it. Because I'm not trying to downplay Dangerous, because of course her voice is as wonderful as always. She sells it. She really hits all the feels, all the caringness of it. Her voice is incredible as always. But let's not forget the writer. I'm like, dude, own it. You deserve the credit for this too. So people, show me your love in the comment section, yada yada. I will continue to brag on his behalf. Okay, I'm sorry.
No, I get it. It's like, not only is it like something like pretty beautiful, especially like coming out right now, but like it is your friend, and that is like very nice to see, like knowing that like your friend is making this thing and actually see it come out, and not only just be able to listen to it, but to actually have like a large amount of people like support it and say like, hey, like, thank you for this. This is really good for me. So in some very nice, surprising news, I was able to finally get in contact with FN. FN just like popped up in the Discord one day, and I was like, hey, can I ask you a bunch of questions regarding your series? And FN was like, yeah, sure. And so I sent them a bunch of questions, and thankfully they got back to me during this weekend. And I'll be honest, as soon as I got them, I went to my last question, which all of you will see my last question, and to me, it's the most important question. So that really like made my weekend. That and another thing that should hopefully come to fruition in I don't know, weeks, months, who knows? And just all I know is we got permission for it, and we're excited for it. Super foreshadowing right now. But yeah, like the AJ interview, we are going to be doing both the questioning and answering ourselves. Boggle's going to take the questions these times, and I'll take the answers. Hopefully, one of these days we will get someone who's like, yeah, sure, like we'll interview. Yeah, sure, go ahead and interview me. But I'm just so happy that these writers have been okay with like letting me ask them questions and letting us read the answers online. I'm super fortunate for this. It's really nice to get like more details in the series, and just kind of having those little nagging fan questions. All right, you ready?
Yep. The first question is, when did you come up with the idea, and what made everything come together into making this a series?
I don't remember exactly when the idea came to me. I reached out to Dangerous about it early in August. I was in the brainstorming process for some time. Could have been a few weeks or a couple of months. As for everything coming together for a series, before I even started writing, I had these particular moments in my mind. Waking up in their cavern home, being comforted after a nightmare, wandering the forest with the giants, being held close by a giant, and swinging through trees while in the giant's cleavage. Once part 1 came out, I asked Dangerous if she'd be interested in multiple parts or preferred to keep it standalone. After telling me she'd be grateful for more parts, I felt comfortable committing to bridge the ideas together into a series.
Question 2 is, looking back at the series, it seems like this was an epic love story. Was that always the plan?
The love story was not always the plan. In fact, Astrid and Freya are quite different from what I originally envisioned them to be. Astrid was meant to be a lot more formal with the listener. Freya, while still gentle and caring, was supposed to be possessive towards the listener, but not go full on Yandere. The more I wrote, the further away I drifted from these versions of these characters. Then hearing Dangerous's performance as the sisters in part 1 pretty much sealed who they become. Freya turned out to be more lovely than I anticipated. From there, I felt more compelled to write in moments where Freya shows interest in a way I'd be comfortable with if I were in the listener's position. Even then, it wasn't until the last script where I decided to go through with an actual love confession.
Question 3 is, was this always a story you meant to be voiced by Dangerous?
100%. Without her and the effort she puts in her audios, the thought would have never crossed my mind.
Next, anything about the lore that didn't make it to the screen that you'd like to share or expand on?
Nothing in particular at the moment. While A Sister's Past gives a sneak peek into the lore, I always wanted to keep the series contained to just the sisters for the sake of not overwhelming myself.
Question 5, do you have a favorite sister?
Yes and no. I want both characters to shine, but it's easier to get carried away when writing Freya.
6, last but most important, what's the size difference between the two? How tall are the sisters compared to the little one?
Brace yourself for disappointment. I don't have a definitive answer for that. I try to leave it open to interpretation. Well, somewhat. For example, a 15-foot giant would be too small, and a 100-foot giant would be too big. That was the saddest thing of this all. I didn't get a definitive answer. At least we have a margin, though. It's anywhere between 15. They're anywhere between 15 to 100 feet. So thank you very much once again, FN, for providing us with those answers. Seeing how we made a whole episode dedicated to your series, once again, man, I loved it, and thank you for giving us fans like a sneak peek into like the making of it and everything. And now on to the meat of the episode. Another surprise comeback is episode 5 of Doctor's Orders, and since it's been a while since the series came back, I kind of was like thinking like let's do another series overview, because I actually have fun just talking about one specific series, and I need content to last a whole podcast, so I thought why not. So first, we're going to begin with kind of like a non-spoiler like discussion of like the series as a whole, and then we'll get into more spoilery discussion. So that way, if you haven't seen the series yet, you can kind of go at your own leisure and listen to it. But if you have seen the series, we're gonna kind of give you more overall thoughts. So, Boggle, what do you think about Doctor's Orders?
I find it quite intriguing. It's got a very interesting plot to it and a very interesting build up. And like we said, I honestly was not expecting a part 5. I assumed this was another dead series. So to see this come back was like, well, that was unexpected, but I'm intrigued. I want to keep seeing where this is going because there's so much potential. And we're still just setting stuff up. So I like where it's headed, and I hope that we see more of it.
I made it clear that like I prefer like the more monster-y side of Dangerous, so like generally if it doesn't have like a monster in it or something, I'm like, I'll check this out later. But like on a whim, I was like, Mind Control, that sounds interesting. Let me check it out. And so from there, and having listened to the first couple episodes initially, I was like, this is actually like pretty fun. Like I like Dangerous's character. I like where the plot's going. And then when episode 5 came out, just because of like how big of a shock it was, I was like, let me get caught up because I don't really remember it all that much. I was in the perfect relaxed mood listening to this, and I realized that this is a very steamy series. This was trying to keep this podcast safe for work. This is making me feel pretty good, I have to admit. It's kind of sad that this came out before the days of Dangerous having a binaural mic, because the last couple episodes if she had a binaural mic with the last couple of episodes, this probably would become my favorite series. So how do you feel Christine Marshall kind of ranks like on the Dangerous protagonists, I guess?
That's a tough question. That's not fair. Because obviously she's supposed to be one of those villain protagonists, I suppose. At least that's how she's been portrayed, with that kind of not completely good, but at the same time, you know, you listen to the audio and you understand her motives. So that's kind of why I find her intriguing, is as kind of unlikable she may be and as questionable as her actions may be, the motivation is at least interesting enough. And if any of you have at least listened to the first episode, you'll know it's what she's trying to do is basically create a love potion that will make the perfect obedient husband, because she feels like there are too many bad men in the world that don't appreciate their significant others. And that's kind of her route to fixing that. Is like, oh, here's a man who'll do everything the woman says, rather than it always being the reverse. So, well, it can be kind of blanketed as a bunch of cheap shots against guys. I still kind of understand to some extent, and that's why I find it at least intriguing. Like, this is an interesting idea because it's essentially a revenge and power fantasy for this character, and so obviously it's still not necessarily right or good what she's doing, but the motivations are interesting enough, and also the extent to which she wants this love potion to flourish is also what I mean when I say, like, there's a lot of potential and good setup. It's like, okay, so what happens when she finalizes this potion and mass produces it? Like, that's going to open a whole, because I believe, whole other can of worms, because I believe someone has pointed out this could almost be considered like some sort of AU prequel to the Yandere Apocalypse series. Of course,
I saw someone say that.
But yeah, it's definitely got that vibe, because it's like, oh, true, what happens when this woman mass produces a love potion that makes men perfect slaves? Like, that is basically the setup, the plot of the Yandere Apocalypse. Except sort of in reverse. It's the guys who are getting affected this time.
I can imagine a Rick and Morty type situation where, like, in order to cure the Yandere Apocalypse, they go to this universe, and Rick's like, damn it, Morty, we went to the universe, it's just the same thing is happening, but it's men, Morty, it's men. I put no effort into that Rick impression, by the way. I could do a much better one, totally.
We're not dangerous, we don't need to try, we don't need to sound like the people we're trying to pretend to be.
Yeah. One thing I really like about her performance as this character is she just maintains one tone the whole time. And she kind of goes through like a variety of like, you know, topics and stuff that you think would have her be different emotions, but she just kind of has like that same like monotone voice the whole time. Like while she's being a doctor, while she's like talking about how annoyed she is that she has to deal with other patients, while she's talking about this like, you know, love potion, and like also while she's like being demanding and using like the listener to like just do whatever he wants, becoming like the subservient boyfriend basically. She like never changes. It never like goes up or down, and that kind of makes her more creepy because you can tell like when she's upset, when she's happy and stuff like that, but it never changes. It's kind of unnerving, but also like intriguing in a way. I know like the non-spoiler version is going to be kind of short, but like there's a lot of spoilers in the series that I want to get into. There's two like there's two twists that very much like intrigue me, and one of which that happens in 5 just kind of completely shakes up what I thought. I might be overthinking it, but we'll get in that in a little bit. But yeah, kind of like final thoughts. This is the series that I'm glad to see come back. It was never one that I was clamoring to see back, but having like re-listened to it again and getting that next part, not only one, am I excited for the next episode, but two, I'm hoping we get a binaural episode sometime soon. If this series is officially back, Dangerous, please give us a binaural episode of this, or just redo episode 4, binaural. All right. Now on to the spoiler portion of the show. Let's get this right out of the way. So, do you think it's Carmelina, or do you think it's just, or do you think that was just a trick for the audience?
I personally do not think it's Carmelina, just because the voice doesn't sound quite the same. I understand, based on the twist in 5, it still could be, but I honestly, genuinely don't think so. I just feel like I haven't been given enough evidence, because I get it, yes, Italian vampire, but you know what? That's not exactly a unique thing. Like, Carmelina is probably not the only Italian vampire to exist in this universe, so I wouldn't default say, oh my god, it's an Italian vampire, therefore it must be, because I understand, I've seen the theories and the logic behind it, and I do think it's an interesting idea, and maybe I would accept it as canon, but I feel like just as of right now, it's too vague. I didn't see a clear cut, like, yes, it is. Therefore, I'm still kind of on the fence about whether or not I believe that it is supposed to be our Carmelina that we know.
Funny is when I first watched this, I didn't watch I didn't listen to the crossover vampire stuff yet. So like, I didn't know this was like a character up until like later on. When I finally listened to the stuff, I'm like, oh, is that that's the Italian girl from Doctor's Orders. Oh, that's cool. Clearly, the crossover takes place in present time. Boy, what an idiot was I. But yeah, like having to listen to this again, I was like, holy shit, yeah, that's Carmelina. I'm so excited. We get to see Carmelina in like modern day, and she's a lawyer, which to me is just, I'm wondering if she is Carmelina. Why the hell Carmelina decided, like, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm really good at charming people, so why not? But as you see in the most recent episode, it turns out it may not be Carmelina, and I'm not even sure if she's a vampire. Although I think it would be funny that eventually Carmelina was just like, okay, yeah, I know I'm like this Italian like noblewoman basically, but maybe I should drop the accent nowadays. Like, it's modern times. I'll bring it out when I need to seduce men, but I don't really need to talk like that anymore.
Because I'd accept it like if I mean, obviously, if anyone confirms explicitly one way or the other, I'll accept that. But I think part of the only way I can rationalize it is if we do look at this as like not a sequel to the crossover series, but like a set in the future type deal. Like Steven just said, oh, this Italian vampire is admitting that the accent isn't as genuine as she makes it seem, and she's planning on getting rid of it unless she absolutely needs it. Like, maybe if we were to look at if we were to see this as like something set in the far future compared to the crossover, I'd accept, oh yeah, this is what, you know, what Carmelina's been up to all these years. It's what she's doing nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the canonicity of, I don't know if canonicity is a word, but we're pretending it is for now. There is that pay it forward audio with Venus that obviously takes place in modern day. And so it just kind of depends whether that was just a test for that character or that is actually canon with the crossover. So, I mean, it can be possible that this is Carmelina just from like an age standpoint, because vampires don't age. That's like the best perk of being a vampire. But it could just be just to fuck with you. Or who knows? The author did say Dangerous is taking the reins of the story from now on. So maybe from the author's perspective, it was Carmelina, and then Dangerous kind of switched it up just to fuck with us. To be fair, Christina does refer to her as Carmen. So you could, at first it's probably just like, oh, she's just giving her a shortened name, but this could just be that this character just is Carmen.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Like, I get it, the name is a huge indicator, but it could still just be the name Carmen and not some sort of code name for Carmelina necessarily. Unless, of course, like I said, maybe that would further the theory of like, oh, this is set in the future compared to the crossover series, and because Carmen does sound like a more modern name, so it's like the idea that years have passed and this is what she's up to nowadays, and maybe Carmen is the name she uses when she's not directly in Italy or the forest where the crossover takes place, or some form of nickname perhaps. There's a lot of theories, so we could be here all year doing another theory video basically. Speculations, guesses, headcanons, all that.
What I think is funny too is if you're someone who hasn't listened to if you're someone who hasn't listened to this audio, but you're just like, I don't care about spoilers, and then you hear this and you're like, wait, Carmelina's in this? Like, we probably just ruined that whole thing for you, but that's your fault for staying for the spoiler section. The other kind of, at least for me, big spoiler is the mind control potion is that it's a potion. It's not like it's not technically science based, because it seems like it seems like I said it again, because it seems like Christina is either a witch or just a straight up alchemist, and this is a straight up magic potion, and like that really like caught me off guard at first. I just literally thought like, oh, this is like some like science thing, but like no, like seeing like she's a witch or just a regular alchemist, like it like turned the screw enough on this series that I'm like, holy shit, like I'm in now. I want to see like what's happening with this love potion and stuff like that.
I think for me, that wasn't quite as big of a spoiler because it was hinted at multiple times before it was essentially confirmed, because she kept on using like I believe in either part 1 or part 2, she would say things like potion or brewing before catching herself and say like chemicals or mixture, or something like that. So it was continuously hinted that she was not all she seemed to be. And then again, like Steven said, that was eventually officially confirmed when she gave her backstory in, I believe, part 3. Because in part 2, she really gets more explicit where she references like this magical underground, like not physically underground, but like, oh yeah, this world of magic, of vampires, werewolves, etc. And then in part 4 is really when she comes and says, yeah, I come from a long line of witches. But the thing is, even though, yes, that's another example of like the potential and buildup of the story, is she does say actually it's a mix of science and magic. That's the point of it. Is, well, true, the love potion is not strictly chemical or scientific. It's not just a potion either. It sounds like she's trying to mix both, because she even says, she's like, I'm the first one to ever try mixing magic and science, and this is what it's produced. So I kind of like that idea.
Yeah, that's my favorite parts of like urban fantasy type of stuff, when it's like mixing like modern day with like old magic and stuff like that. That kind of going off on a tangent for a little bit. Some of my favorite urban fantasy movies are things like Bright or like Constantine or Last Witch Hunter. Well, other than Constantine, those aren't very good movies. It's, to me, I enjoy seeing fantasy mixed with modern time. Ironically, I've never played D&D Modern, because I stick mainly to Pathfinder, Mutants and Masterminds. But seeing something like Last Witch Hunter and having this Viking dude who not only has a long sword, but he has a shotgun too to go hunt witches, like I think that's badass. So kind of like having this like scientists basically use not just magic but like modern day like chemicals and stuff like that to create basically a mass produced love potion, like, is really cool in my mind. And and the other thing that gets me to really like this audio is I normally I'm not susceptible to the purpose of ASMR. Like I can't get to like those moments where I get the tingles. It can happen like with this audio, but it's not very common for me. Like I enjoy ASMR for the roleplay stuff, and like unless it's vampires or like a sound of high heels clicking, which just has both, so that helps. It never really happens for me, but like this one in particular, even without like the binaural mic, like I keep bragging on about, like I don't know what it was, but it's like the kissing and then the rubbing and stuff like that. It really it got me to that mindset of the tingles, so maybe I was just too relaxed when I listened to this, honestly. And also, if someone is gonna tell me they're gonna buy me food and nice suits, you don't need a love potion. I'll be with you. It's those are two of my weaknesses: nice suits and food. If you somehow fit in Blu-rays, like I would be yours. I wouldn't care what you want me to do. I would legitimately be yours. Very easy. Yet I'm also very lonely.
Let's be real. That's the only reason anybody listens to these audios is because we're all secretly lonely inside.
We're all lonely and depressed and we're sad. And then we start podcasts because we want to share this with other people. And we drag our friends into it because you don't want to do it alone because we're so lonely.
Share the loneliness. Misery loves company.
I'll be right back. I'm going to go take a break. So what are your final thoughts on this series, Boggle?
I don't really have any extra final thoughts except to reiterate that this is an interesting plot and I look forward to seeing where it goes, so I hope it updates quicker. I'm not asking for monthly, but there was a pretty big gap between parts 4 and 5, hence why I think a lot of us assumed it was a dead series. I'm interested in seeing where it goes. I'm interested in seeing more of Carmen and if she's Carmelina, though, of course, I'll bet you now this is going to be like a running joke where we're like, what is Venus? What is the size of the Giantess? We're never going to actually know if Carmen is Carmelina. But even if we don't get that answer, I'm just interested to see, where the love potion goes, both on the listener and what happens if and when it's mass produced, what else Christine Marshall has up her sleeve, yada yada. And I will actually say, just I myself am personally not like hypnosis doesn't work for me, but I still kind of enjoy that aspect of it. I find it interesting, even though I don't really believe in it myself. But I just wanted to add this in, because I got to do this little shout out. But one of my best friends on this Discord, aside from Steven and Elijah, is Net Neutrality. He's a sucker for hypnosis, so this is one of his favorite series. So, to the author of this story, you've done a good job with this one from his perspective. Anything for hypnosis, he'll enjoy. So, good on you. Even if it doesn't work for me, I think it's still a good job. And also, like Steven was saying, especially now with the upgraded mic, there's a lot nicer just sound effects. So even though I couldn't really enjoy the hypnosis, I definitely enjoyed just the noises and the sound effects. They were really nice, really good.
I'm actually with you on the hypnosis thing. That's not really like my thing, but I think it's the fact that it involves magic and love potion. Even though, like we've said, it's a mix of science and magic. I think it being a love potion is like what really got me to like, okay, yeah, let's see where this goes now. And so yeah, I'm very excited for the next potential episodes. I feel like the story does have potential to go like quite a lot of places. And yeah, Dangerous, please, binaural episodes. Maybe not safe for work, please.
Sorry, we're so demanding. Never satisfied. We really are the worst fans ever. We're just asking for more, but she has been giving us a lot of binaural already, so I'm content with it. Because I know it's trickier to do binaural, but yeah, even if it's because she uploads quite a few of her videos now in binaural for obvious reasons, because everyone freaking loves binaural. Like we always joke, binaural is our biggest kink. But yeah. We're going to keep begging, even though it makes us the worst fans ever. Because we're happy with what's already out, but binaural.
I've seen how expensive those mics are. If you're gonna have it, you might as well use it just to be like, yeah, that's
get your money's worth.
Yeah, get your money's worth of it.
That's why you need Patreon. You can help support her so she can afford these mics.
And then if she makes a not safe for work episode, there you go. By the way, if she makes the binaural or not safe for work episode, we take 100% of the credit. Because clearly,
it's all thanks to us that these videos exist. It's all us.
Yeah. I mean, since we started this, we got an ending to a really good series. We got a series brought back to life. And seeing what we're covering next week, maybe we'll bring another series back to life. Because next week, we're going to tackle the Yandere Dolly series. Which, I don't know about you, Boggle, but that's a series I really enjoy.
No, I absolutely hate it. I don't know why you'd ever ask. JK, y'all, that's probably one of my favorite series. So I know I sound fairly neutral, but when Steven did message me earlier saying we might try that one next week, I'm just like, it feels really random, but I'd be down for it.
You sound neutral about everything, though.
I know, I really have a very expressionless voice. Guys, this is why I'm not an ASMR artist. This is why I'm not dangerous. I can't express vocally.
As I was telling Boggle, as I was joking to
Constant
Boggle,
deadpanning. The world could be ending, and you just see my phone. Oh, hey, look, the world's ending.
as I was joking with Boggle earlier today, I was telling her, like, you probably listen to that Safer Work stuff, and you're just like, yeah, that's hot. Just the whole time. You're just like, yeah, that was pretty cool.
I actually do, you guys. When I listen to the Not Safe for Works, unless I'm in the mood, which is very rare, I literally just sit there, neutral face while I'm listening to all this moaning, and I'm like, yep, this is interesting. I enjoy it from an objective standpoint, but I'm sitting here neutral expression, whereas the normal person would be like, wait a minute, are you listening to... Yes, I am. I'm just not reacting to it very much. I'm very boring.
Well, what do you listen to, Boggle? Just like, boring. How is it?
Yep.
Pretty good, I guess.
Meh, it's decent, I guess. Sundere Typhon, I guess Dangerous is a good ASMR artist. I mean, she's nothing special. Just kidding. Yes, she is. We love her. She hates us, though. And by us, I mean Steven and I, because we're the worst fans ever.
Well, is this signing off? You want to do the sign off, Boggle?
No, you can.
Okay. Shit, I was hoping you.
Because I don't know what to say. That's why I made you do it. I'm like,
How about we just both say goodbye at the same time?
Okay, you gotta count it down.
Yeah, on 3. 1, 2, 3. Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye.
God damn it. I'm gonna leave him. Unless you want to make a blooper right now.
Their bloopers blow. I'm not as funny as Dangerous. Laugh, dang it, laugh.
You joke, but you joke, but I'm actually gonna have that be. I'm actually gonna have that as a. So glad the dogs waited until I fucking finished that. From there, I felt more compelled to write in the moments where Freya shows interest in a way I'd be comfortable with. Freya shows interest in a way I'd be more comfortable. This is why I was always afraid of reading out loud when I was in high school. I'm fucking terrible.